Hi everybody. Just gonna chat with you for a few minutes till we kind of get everybody in that wants to be in on the beginning of the stream, because it is drama-free Friday, you know. It is drama-free Friday. So come on in. Find a seat and you can pick any chair you want. Any chair. You can be on the front row. You can be on the back row. You can be any place you want. So you can feel free to chat in the chat and tell me that you're here. Yeah, and that'd be great. It is a pretty day in the Midwest part of the United States. Get myself together here. Yeah, so come on in. It is gorgeous here today. Got a cup of tea for the moment till we get started. I can have this here as long as I hang on to it. Hey, Deb. As long as I hang on to it, I'm good to go. But you know, if I spill it, I'm in deep trouble with someone. Deep trouble with the technical department. So we try very hard to keep the technical department happy. Hi, Pam. Hi, Jerry. Nice to see you. Come on in. We're just chatting for a minute. Having a little tea and a little chat. Deb's in the corner. Well, Deb, you live in the corner these days, don't you? I hope Carrie gave you the keys to the mini bar. I watched a video with Kyla earlier today and just began watching Xtreme about making journal pages into postcards. Well, great. And do you want to tell us your name? I don't know how to say that. I'm going to say die. Jamila. Jamila, is that how you say it? Don't hesitate to correct me. Hi, Kate. And is Carol here? Hi, Carol. Oh, good. I'm glad you made it, Whippy. Jamila. I wonder if I can remember that. If I ever say your names wrong, please feel free to correct me. And anybody coming in that wants to chat with us, that would be great. If you've, Jamila. Oh, Jamila. Okay, I better write that one down. 'Cause that I might not remember. D-I-O. Where are you from, Jamila? Yep, so Deb's already in the corner. She's already got the keys to the mini bar. Hi, Kasha. I hope I say that correctly, too. I'd love to know where you guys are from. So please feel free to put your state or country in the chat. I would love to know where you are watching from. Hi, CB. How's Miss CB doing today? Kasha. Okay. Thank you. CB's headed to the corner. She's getting Deb out of the way. Oh, Jamila is from Columbia, South Carolina. Oh, but you're in Colorado Springs. Oh, that's great. Hi, Wendy. And who else? Got a bunch of people. Oh, Poland. Okay, Kasha's in Poland. Kasha, are you the Kasha that I have seen before on Prima, Live with Prima? Yeah, Pam's in Colorado. My granddaughter's going to be going to Colorado Springs here in just a few weeks to do one of her stints of field work there. So, San Antonio, blustery Santa Cruz. Blustery? It's blustery in Santa Cruz. I mean, somehow, Deb, I think you've been nipping a little too much. Hi, Mindy. All right. USA, baby. Oh, Kasha, well, that's great. I'm really honored that you would come and watch. That's cool. All right. All right, I have not finished this cup of tea, and I would really like to finish it, but we need to get started before someone named Charlie commandeers the stream. He's already commandeered my Twitter account, I saw. Got my Twitter account, but so far he has not commandeered the stream. Yet. Yet. So let me put this cup of tea out of the way so I don't get in trouble with technical out in LA. I can have tea as long as it's over here with a cup on it and I don't drop it on the floor. Hi, Rebecca. CB, you saw the Twitter? I'm telling you. It's bad news when those felines commandeer my Twitter account. And Charlie also tried to tell you on Twitter that it was National Cat Day. Or no. What did he say? National Sponsor Day. It is not National Sponsor Day. It is not. It's actually National Johnny Appleseed Day, and it's also National Tool Worship Day. That's a bit of trivia you were just waiting to hear, isn't it? Hi, Jillian. Oh, good. Going to Michael's. What you buying at Michael's? Well, Deb. Hey, Lynn. Nice to see you. It's great to see everybody. When I see somebody pop in the chat I haven't seen for a while. Okay, Wendy. Great. Thank you. Could be art tools. I don't know. It's just what. Yeah, those sponsors, they get me in trouble saying stuff. Okay, so let's do the official, I should be like Blade, the artistic biker, and have my intro, but I don't have one of those. So we're just going to go for it. Anyway, my name is Barb Owen, in case you had not figured out, and I am so glad you're here because it is, and I could do a drum roll, but I won't because I blow your ears out. It is Drama Free Friday. Hi, Marion. Welcome, everybody. Hi, Janice. I'm trying to catch everybody as I see you guys typing in the chat, and if I miss it, please know that you're welcomed, and I'm so glad you're here. It is Drama Free Friday, and if anybody's new and does not know what that means that there is enough drama in the world out there, but we're here, and there's nothing we can do about what's out there, so let's just play and pretend that nothing else is going on in the world that is, icky, and so let's just let's just have some fun. All right, so I'm going to show you a couple things. Deb. Deb. That Deb in the chat, she's being a pistol today. She has been in the corner. She has been in the corner at the mini bar because somebody gave her the keys, and she's over there nipping and tucking. All right. Whoops. Got to get in the right place, Barb. Got to get in the right place. Because if you're not, you don't go where you think you're going to go. All right, let me get some stuff out of my way here. Too much stuff hither and thither. There we go. Hi, Meg. Hi, Allie. And by the way, I don't know if you all know this, but you can on Ustream. I broadcast on Ustream for such a long time, and I am broadcasting on YouTube Live. It's like get my teeth in. Now what was I going to say? Yes, on YouTube Live, You can pop out the chat if you need to rearrange it on your screen. You'll see down at the bottom of the chat window, there's 3 little dots. You can pop it out from there. Something else you can do is you can scroll back in time like a DVR. So if you missed something and you want to know, like you got distracted and I said something, you didn't understand what I said, you can actually scroll back in time. Just drag the little slider bar at the bottom, drag it back, and you can, check that out. So that's a good way to check things out, catch up on something you missed. And so there's some cool things that you can do. Okay, so I just wanted to show you, this is the book I've shown a couple times that I did for Kyla Givehand's Journey Within, which is a year-long class, but it is divided into quarters. And we're getting ready to start the second quarter. The 1st of April, I think, is when the second quarter begins. At least that's logical to me that that's when it would be. Hey, Jan. And so that is, I will be teaching for her in that class, The Journey Within. And you can actually sign up and do it in quarters if you want. And all of the links to everything that I tried to catch everything that I thought I was going to talk about today and put it in the description box below the window that you're viewing. And so you should be able to scroll down there and see. So there is a link there to Kyla's Journey Within class if you're interested in doing that. And as I said, you can take it by the quarter if you wish. You don't have to sign up for the whole year. So anyway, second quarter is coming up, and I'm going to be doing a class for her. This was the class, if you guys were here, when Kyla was here with me live on the live stream, and this was what she did. It was kind of a little mini class that she taught me how to play with the watercolor in a way that I hadn't done before. Spell checker, Kyla, did I get the wrong? Did I have Koala's class? Okay. All right, wait a minute. That stupid spell check. Hold on a minute. I'm telling you, I don't know if I can do this. Let me see if I can do this live here. It doesn't look like it's Koala. Okay, I don't know if you're talking to me. I'm not sure if you're talking to me or who you're talking to about that. Oh, you did it. Okay. See, I got all messed up there. I thought you were talking to me, Jerry. I did. I thought you were talking to me. That's funny. Anyway, okay. So let's keep going. So this was a class I did, or this was a art journal pages I did with her here. And so this is a sneak peek of what I'm going to be doing for my class. This is one page spread, and this is actually the one that we did in the class. So this is kind of like, one idea and another idea. But this uses some of the fabric that we did last week. So I just thought I would show you that. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out. Jerry was trying to tell me that she was in Kyla's class, and I got myself all messed up. That is funny. That's funny. Yeah, so I guess you guys saw that Charlie commandeered my Twitter account. I don't know what to do about these two felines that are currently behind door number 1, soaking up the sun. They're in there being very innocent, by the way. And if you haven't been here before, they're two very fat, unfortunately, very fat Siamese named Charlie and Chance. And last week, Chance tried to take over and managed to successfully take over my Twitter feed. And this week, Charlie managed to do it. So I don't know. These animals are out of control. They only seem to do it on Friday, but, so far so good. I don't know how long that'll last. Whew. Anyway. Carol says she put, I'm on her big screen and the chat's on her laptop and now she needs lunch. CB says Charlie wrote quite well. Yeah. He's a smart cat. He's a smart cat. Hi, Gabrielle. Yeah, they are in collusion. They're in collusion. They're in cahoots. So also on Saturday, I wanted to tell you this coming Saturday, I don't know if any of you are close to me, but this coming Saturday, I am teaching all day at a local store, which is, well, it's local to me. It's about 40 minutes, 45 minutes away from me. The store is called Soul Sentiments. It's a scrapbooking store and studio, mixed media art and classes. And let me show you the card up close. See if I can get you real close so you can see the information. So the store is called Soul Sentiments, and I'm going to be teaching a class there live in the morning on jelly plate printing, art journaling with jelly plate prints with the little mini jelly plates. So we're going to be doing that using ink and also paint. And here is the contact information. There's the phone number if anybody's close to me and wants to get in on the class. That's in the morning. And in the afternoon, I'm going to do how to carve stamps. So I am in Missouri. I am in the middle of Missouri. Hey, Janet. I am smack in the middle of Missouri. Hi, Emma. Yeah, so anyway, I am teaching there all day on Saturday. It's 2 different classes, so I just thought I would tell you that if anybody happens to be close to me and would like to. Why is it that when you start broadcasting, everything starts itching? My nose itches, my scalp itches. Sorry you have to watch me itch, but I'm not going to suffer for you people. I'm not. I'm just not. Okay, Emma is Mad Rat Lady on other whatever handles, Xtreme and so forth. Hey, Ruth. All right, road trip. That's right. Anyway, it's this Saturday, so I wanted to tell you that, and so that completes all the things that I was really wanting to talk to you about. So today we are going to do mandalas, using mandalas in an art journal. So I'm just going to do a mandala because I love them. And I have all kinds of samples to show you, so I'll do that in a little bit. We'll just get started first. How's that? Now, before I switch the camera, you need to know that this isn't going to show up real well. True enough, because it's on white paper, but we're going to give it a shot. Okay, so this is probably very, very dim, but this is white cardstock. It's 110-pound cardstock I'm using, and it's done with pencil. So what I've done, this is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock. I've cut it into a square, so it's 8.5 by 8.5. And then I've just divided it in half, and then I've marked it corner to corner. And I want all those little lines to intersect in the center. Okay, so that's important that everything goes in the center. Then I use a compass, and the kind of compass that I really like, Allie likes mandalas. I do too. I have been fascinated with them for a number of years. Really have. This is the compass that I like. You can use any kind of compass. This just happens to be the one I like. It's called the Quick Bow 6.5-inch compass with an extension bar. And it draws circles up to 14 inches in diameter. With the extension bar up to 22 inches. So it's a really versatile and not very expensive compass. You can use, it comes with leads, these little lead points, graphite points. And so you can use those with the compass, or you can also take that off and you can insert this other little attachment here. This little guy can go in here, and this will let you use a regular pencil. So there's a couple of ways to do that. This is the extension bar, and these are the extra leads. Oh, you haven't tried drawing before, Emma? Well, maybe you will. So I took my compass, and one of the things I like about this one is that you pinch these little, I don't know, we'll call them clamps. There's probably a technical term. And you can just squeeze and just move. So squeeze them, it releases the 2 legs of the compass, and you can just move them. So you don't have to adjust it with this wheel in the middle, but you use the wheel in the middle if you want to make fine adjustments in or out. But it's just really easy to use, so I really like that. Plus, you know, you have some extra little adjustments with this leg and so forth and so on. Anyway, that's more than you ever wanted to know about a compass. So you put the point of the compass, whatever compass you're using, in there, and just start drawing circles. And so I've done this ahead of time because there's no point in you watching me draw circles. Marion, I have your Marion says she has your mandala download book and love them. Oh, good. That's great. I'm so happy you like it. I'm going to show it after a while too, so people can see what the book looks like. And I'm going to show some of the mandalas from the book also. And the book is Mandala Melange, which is you'll see the link in the description box if you're interested in that. And it has its own nice little house. I like things that store. I like that because it has a house and then I don't have to worry about it. Case in point, I looked all over. It is National Tool Worship Day today, so I understand. That's what the sponsors have tried to convince me of today. They also said it was National Johnny Appleseed Day, and I think that's probably true. But the National Worship of Tools or Tool Worship Day, I'm not so convinced of that one. Anyway, I looked through this whole container over here. Let's see if you can see it. You're going to get a shot of one of my monitors, so sorry about that. But right here, this whole container here has all kinds of tools in it. So I've been looking through that today, trying to find. I know I have a pair of tweezers in there because I needed them. Couldn't find them. I should organize that, shouldn't I? Yeah. Thingy-mabobbers, that's right. Those thingy-mabobbers. What is it Paula, Journal Artista, calls them? Thingy-madoos. She has the cutest way of saying that. That's Journal Artista Paula Phillips, if you're not familiar. She does streaming, and she also has a YouTube channel and a blog, and she does some really great art journaling things. So check her out. So anyway, back to our beginning of our mandala. So it goes from a piece, and I find it easiest to work on a square, and so that's what I do. I work on a square. I draw the lines, then I draw the circles, and you can draw it. There's no rules. There's no rules. That's the beauty of mandalas. There are no rules. Oh, Jerry says regarding books, she had to get the book I mentioned last week, Carla Sondheim's. Yeah, it's a great book. Oh, cool. Jan says she loves the mandala book and she's using them for her great round. Nice. Hello, Mr. Bear, if you're watching. All right, so what I'm going to do, I particularly like working with a mechanical pencil because I don't have to sharpen it. And for erasing, I like working with one of the plastic erasers. This is a stick eraser by Pentel. It's a click eraser. That's just what I happen to like. You can use whatever. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in the middle and I'm just going to start drawing something. And here's how a mandala works. This is how I approach a mandala. Not everybody starts with, laying out this is kind of, I'm going to call it a grid. It's not actually a grid, but we're going to call it a grid. Not everybody lays out a grid to start with, and I do some where I don't do that at all, but I like this because it's just kind of a fun way to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in one of these little pie shapes, and I'm just going to think about one little pie shape, and I'm going to draw this darker than you would draw it in your real life, and I'm just going to make a mark. Okay, I'm going to make a shape inside that little section. And once I've decided what that shape is, then I just rotate my mandala like so, and I just keep making shapes. The only thing you have to decide is the first one. Is once you've decided the first one, you just repeat it until you run out of little shapes to put it in. Now, these shapes are hand-drawn. They're not going to be perfect. If you really mess up like I did there, then you can erase and draw it again. Okay? So that's all I did. Okay? If you have any questions, be sure that you put them in caps. Okay? Put them in caps so that I'll see them in the chat. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is I've drawn a couple of concentric rings pretty close together. So I'm going to use those two together because I just want to. So what shall we do? I truly, the best thing to do when you're laying out a mandala is don't think about it. So let's see if I can do that. Okay, so again, let's see, is that going to work? Yes. Sometimes you have to think about how it's going to work out. And as I said, I'm doing these a lot darker than I would do in real life. I have some examples of some I'm working on that are really lightly sketched, and I'll show you what that's like here in a minute. I have drawn dozens of mandalas so far in my life, and I've never drawn two that are the same. All right, so we have that. So let's take a look at that up close. Bye, Kia. Okay. So that's the next round. All right. So with that being said, I'm just going to let you guys kind of hang out and watch. Now, I often will bisect by eye. I just bisect the ring, knowing that I'm going to do something, I don't know what, but I'm going to do something with that using that center mark. So I do it by eye. I don't do it with any kind of measuring device. My eye is fairly accurate, not totally, but fairly. Okay, so let's, again, the less you think about it, the better off you are. And all I have to do is decide the one set of shapes or one set in the pie shape, and then I just repeat it. And you'll probably see that some of my lines, especially as I get out further into the outer rings, you know, they're kind of more scribbly. I was trying to think of what I wanted to say. They're a little more scribbly than some of these in the inner rings. But once you decide one section, then you just repeat it. And one of my favorite things about these is I never know what it's going to look like repeated around the circle. I do have wind chimes. Can you hear them? Yeah. I have a couple of big wind chimes out in the backyard and the window's open. Yeah, I will color them. I'm using a pencil just to lay it out. Yeah, and I'll show you. Here's examples let's take a break and I'll show you some examples of some of the mandalas. So this is done on a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock that I collaged in the background. This is collaged with different kinds of thin papers and then coated with gesso, and I lay them out the same way. So here's this one, and this is laid out in pencil, and then I'll show you what I do next, and then they're colored. Here's another one. Okay, done the same way. Here's another one. This one does not have, this has the center part of it's finished. The outer rings are not finished on this one, but you can see those. Here's some other ones. Okay, so there's that one. And this one. They're all laid out the same way. First one reminds you of a fruit pie. That's pretty funny. Here's another one. And here's another one. Okay, so those are all done. These are all laid out, every single one of these. And here's, I don't know if I showed you this one. This one does not have all the trim stuff, what I call frosting. Doesn't have the frosting on it yet. It just has the color work. And so that's what I'm doing. And then I approach all of them exactly the same way as I'm doing this. So let's keep going. I may not lay out this entire thing. I will, maybe lay out part of it and then show you more. Okay? Yeah, dimensional, they do, which is fun. Okay, so moving on, there's the next ring here. And let's see, what do I want to do with that? Let's do something different. The worst thing you can do is think about this. Okay, so I'm going to again bisect this ring by eye, just by putting a little dot. So did that answer the question about why I do that? Hopefully. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a shape. And see what happens. So I'm going to repeat the same shape. So it's kind of an odd, it's somewhere between a triangle and a diamond. But I could have had this all drawn out. In fact, I have some drawn out. But, if I have it, if I do it, have it all drawn out ahead of time, then you don't see the process. And so I thought maybe you'd like to see how I actually lay them out. I find it incredibly relaxing to do them. Okay. So there's the next one. Do I use a circle cutter? It depends on what I'm doing. So for example, when I'm cutting this out after I've colored it, whoops, sorry, wrong camera. If I'm cutting this out after I'm completely done with it, I don't usually use the circle cutter because often I'll have, something like this where I've added some little detail outside the outer circle, and so I can't use a circle cutter on that, right? if I'm doing this, which is a book that I made using one of the, this is using one of the mandalas. Okay, so I made it as a book cover. And in this case, I wanted the pages, which are also circles, I wanted them to be actually totally round. And in that case, I did use a circle cutter to cut out all of the pages so that they would be the same identical size. Hope that answers your question. Hi, Anna. Oh, good. I'm glad you're here. That's great, Anna. Anna's in the UK. Okay. So that is, we'll talk more about those things in a little bit. So let's do another one. So I'm ready for the next round. And let's go with, one of my favorite shapes is a petal shape, and this shows up very often in what I do. So I'm just going to add another little center mark, more or less, in the center of each of these little sections, because I know I'm going to use it. So I put all that. So I do a petal shape. You can think of it as a lotus shape, or you can think of it as a leaf. And let me tell you, it doesn't matter, or doesn't seem to make too much difference how beautiful the shape is. By the time you finish it, they look fine. And work, just keep working. Keep drawing. Don't worry about it. You're just only working one little bit at a time. So I'm trying to pick up speed here. Kate says she started drawing mandalas in January when she was told she's being laid off work. Wow, they have been great for relieving stress. I rarely go a day without drawing one or working on details. Yeah, I'll tell you a story about, I should do this while I'm working. In fact, let's do that. I'll tell you a story while I'm doing that. So let me get on to the next thing. Once I decide one shape, then it's a matter of just repeat it. So once I decide on what I'm going to do, okay, let's just go this way. Okay, so last night, I don't know, it's been a busy week. Every week's busy with the website, HowToGetCreative.com, with the members area, and doing classes and recordings and so forth, and special things over there, and teaching classes live here. There's just a lot of prep work. I'm not asking for any kind of empathy, sympathy, or anything else. I'm just telling you that sometimes it gets real crazy. So last night I had to go out to the little store where I'm teaching this weekend. See, I didn't even get the story done, and I'm already finished with that round. How pathetic is that? How pathetic is that? I finished the round of shapes before I got my story even started. Okay, so there's that. So you get the idea of how it's developing. Okay. Anyway, I came home last night, and my body was just, there's several things I never have a problem with, and one is headaches. I mean, literally, I just don't have problems with headaches. I'm lucky, I'm grateful, I don't have problems with them. Yeah, well, I had a headache last night, which is a rare thing for me. And I still had a lot of work I had to do last night, late. And so I got the work done, and my headache, first of all, I thought, oh, it's because I'm hungry. So I went and ate dinner. And then that wasn't it, still had the headache. And so I came upstairs, and I thought, well, probably I'm just worrying about all the stuff I need to get done. Let's see. Got to think here a minute. Okay. And so I came upstairs, and I thought, just knock out the work, and then it'll be fine. So I did, got all the work done. And I thought, now I'll be okay. Nope, still have the headache. And so then I thought, all right, so the next thing I need to do is, okay, what was I thinking I was going to do here? Maybe this. So I thought, okay, I must need water. So I came upstairs, or went down into the kitchen, got myself a giant glass of water and an apple. And so I'm, eating the apple, drinking a big old huge glass of water, get done, give it a few minutes. Nope, still have a headache. And so I thought, all right, what's the next thing I can do? So I'm all done with my work for the day, and it's getting late. I need to unwind. And so I thought, I'll just get out a mandala that I had in progress. And all I needed to do was to color it. So I started coloring the mandala. And I'll tell you something. In 5 minutes, the headache was gone. It was gone. I'm telling you. I'm telling you the truth, people. I'm telling you the truth. I'm not saying that works for anybody else, but it was great. I was like, I got to remember this, because I just rarely ever have problems. I know a lot of people have terrible problems with headaches. I don't. And so when I get one, I'm a real wimp about it. And yeah. Amazing. Okay, so there's the next round. Okay. So you got the idea how it's developing. You see it shaping up. This is one that's different than anything I've ever done before. Okay, so what shall we do next? Maybe, And all you need to remember is you're only working in one pie shape. Just one pie shape. So again, I'm going to bisect this in the middle. And then maybe bisect that again. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to take a wild guess here. Sometimes when I don't know what else to do, I put in a squiggly line. So maybe what we'll do, instead of using these for the moment, I'm just going to do that. All right, so let's do this and this. Okay, so what I did here was I just did a squiggly line. Doesn't have to squiggle the same direction as, doesn't have to be identical to that one. Anna asked me if I finished my mandala calendar. I did not. I've changed my mind. Instead of making a calendar, I'm just going to use it as an exploration of different ways to color the mandalas and forget the calendar. I should have started to do the calendar, and I have it here to show you. To do the calendar, I should have started it in at least November. I should have started way sooner than I did. Once January got over and I didn't have the calendar completed, I'm like, okay, well, that's over with. Yeah. Okay, keeping on. So I'm just saying that the mandalas for me are very stress relieving. I started doing mandalas when I was taking care of my mom, and I don't even know how it crossed my path. I found a book in the bookstore and I bought it. It was a coloring book. This was back before coloring books were the mega popular thing that they are today. Okay, so you can kind of see how this is developing. And I started coloring mandalas. Mandalas show up in every culture. And I started just coloring them, seeing what would happen, you know? And yeah, it was great. And then I thought, well, if I could color them, I wonder if I could draw them. All right, let's see what we can do here. Okay, that'll come out. Okay, so I'm just going to do some scallops. I know, CB. Start on the one for next year. Isn't that the truth? And obviously, as you get further out in the rings, it takes longer to get around the circle because you got more things to fill in. Oops. You can draw these in ink from the get-go if you want. I have done that with some. I really kind of like having, I don't know, there's some part of the process of doing the pencil that I really enjoy. The wind chimes are going bananas out there. Is that bothering you guys? If it is, I'll close the window. I don't even hear them because they're so much, well, that one is clearly off. That one is clearly just off. Well, it's just off, that's all. So we won't worry about it. It's music I don't have to pay for. You know what I mean? Hi, Jean. Nice to have you here. Yeah, the consensus is that I need to start on the Mandala calendar for next year. Okay, so we have that. Okay, so far so good. All right, so we'll take a look at that. Widen out just a little bit so you can see it a little bit more. Okay, so you can see how it's going. All right, so we have two more rings going on out here. Let's see, what shall we do? I'm gonna do, okay, here's my middle, about the middle. Okay, that seems like that'll work out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, well, let's see how that goes, shall we? Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. And as I said, if they're different, you know, if things are not the same size, I just don't sweat it a whole lot. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I got one fat one in here. I'd say that. I say, I don't worry about it. And then I'm counting and straightening things up. Hi, Marie. Hello, Raceman. So far, so good. Ask the girls, ask the audience. We're doing a mandala today. Ask the chatters. Race, did you see that Charlie commandeered my Twitter account today? Oops. Bad cat. Okay, that one's not going to have the same number, but we're not going to worry about it. Clearly, I'm not counting well here. All right, more or less, give or take a little bit. Ruth watched part of American Heiress and says that Race was such a bad boy in that. That's true. You can see that on YouTube. If you Google his name, you'll come up with it. Okay, so we've got one more ring out here. And let's do... Okay, I'm going to bisect the rings again. Just mark in the middle. See what we got. Okay, and then let's see what happens if we do this. Okay, we'll bisect these again. Okay, let's see what happens. Sometimes it's easier if I go this way. So once I've determined what is going on in one, I just repeat it. And I only think about one section at a time. Okay, so we did draw this whole thing. Did I say rang? I think I said race. Yeah, exactly, Race. Cats like birds, but he took over Twitter. He's tweeting. A bad cat. Telling people it's National Sponsor Day, for crying out loud. He's a bad one. I'm telling you, there's no telling what could happen if Muppet gets on there. If Muppet gets a hold of my account, we're all in trouble. All in trouble. Okay, so there is a completed mandala drawn in pencil, right? Got it? Carol wants to know, does it help if one used graph paper or that paper with a dot grid? You know, I don't know. I've never done that. I just always work with just plain white cardstock. Because I want something that's got more heft to it than most of those grid papers have. Yeah. Race wants to know if Charlie can smell properly without thumbs. Well, you know, there is the hunt and peck method. Wonder what that mandala, Ruth wonders what that mandala would look like if I changed from wind chimes to Metallica. Well, Barb would look like this. That could be bad. Okay, so back to the mandala. Okay, what I do after that is I start with black paint pen. And I prefer to use a paint pen to do the inking stage. And so this is the Molotow or Molotov, however you'd like to say it, paint pen. You can also use the Sharpie water-based poster paint pens. You can use whatever. I find that I like the paint pen because it doesn't tend to react to whatever else I do. Exactly, Ruth, exactly. My hairstylist sometimes would like for me to do something a little crazy, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm not quite ready to do that yet. You know, weird colors and, you know, hair standing on end, things. I don't know. Hi, Jan. All right. Just seeing if I'd missed any comments. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a paint pen. I have two different sizes here. One is extra fine and one is has a W on it. The extra fine is 1 millimeter and the W is a 2 millimeter round tip. And either one is fine. I'm going to work with the extra fine, which is 1 millimeter. These are paint pens, so they do have a ball bearing in them of some kind, mixing ball. So you do want to shake them. These are not cheap little pens, I will tell you that. But they do work really well. So I like them. They are refillable. You can get different tips for them and so forth. So far, you know, I haven't ordered any tips. I do need to because I have some that I need to replace. So far, I've just bought a new pen. Purple frosting. I don't think so. Yeah. Jan's working. We won't talk. Okay, so I start in the middle and then I just go over my pencil lines. The Sharpie water-based extra fine pen is really nice. It has even a finer tip than this one. And then I'm just going to start. I find it best if I work toward myself, actually. So let's just follow my own rules. And I complete every round before going to the next one. Like I don't work out in a section, I work around the circle. But if you use a paint pen and let it completely dry, then whatever kind of coloring material you choose to do, it should not react to whatever's going on next. Now, I'm intending to go over my pencil lines, but if I miss some, I'm not going to sweat it. Especially some of them that have, you know, multiple, scribbly little pencil lines. I'm not going to hit all of them. And some of the circles are still going to be visible, from when I originally laid it out. So, I still will see that. And this works if you're right-handed, pardon me, right-handed or left-handed, because you just simply rotate the mandala whichever way works for you to keep your hand out of it. Okay, so I'm just going to keep on keeping on here. So if you have any questions, pop them in the chat. As I said, I started doing mandalas when I was taking care of my mom. And I just fell in love with them. And I don't draw them all the time, but I do go back to them frequently. Carol says we're watching so intently that no one is talking. One of the things I find with the paint pen is that you can't outrun the paint pen, which means work methodically. It helps in this process because you do want to be connected to what you're doing. That's part of the whole process of working with a mandala, is you want to stay conscious of what you're doing as opposed to just working, in an unconscious, rote kind of manner, but not that that is a bad thing. Okay, so let's do this. What do I want to do here? Probably that. And as you're inking, you can change your mind a little bit. But do you see, by working around to the right, like I am, I'm keeping my hand. If I was working to the left, I might be, since I'm right-handed, I might get myself in a little bit of trouble. But working to the right, I kind of keep my hand from getting in the ink or the paint. I call it ink, but it's actually paint. You could do this with a dip pen for something, a different look. You could do it in colored pens if you choose. Varya? I don't know. Welcome. I don't think I've seen your name before. Nice to have you join us. Oh, good, Rebecca. So you're working along with me. That's great. Okay, so let's go again. All right, and if your pen decides to get cantankerous, have a little scratch paper. Trying to keep it where you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so we're completing this row, and I'm gonna, at this point, well, I'm not quite finished with it. I'm gonna do like a section and not a whole. I'm not gonna keep going around the whole circle just because of the time, because we'll be here all night. Okay, so we've got that much. So you see how it's developing, and I like the pencil part of it just simply because I just find that fun to do. So I'm going to do like a quarter of it. So we'll do that. So in this quarter, I'm going to do, let's see. In this quarter, I'm going to go on top of my circle. Hello, come on. Thank you. So I'm just drawing on top of the circle line that was there from one mark to the next. Okay, so I have a quarter of that. Barya, where are you from? Tell us. And tell me if I'm saying your name correctly. So again, don't go faster than your pen can handle the movement, because it is easy with paint pens and specialty pens to outrun the flow of the ink or the paint. So I'm doing a bit more than a quarter here, but okay, so you got the idea. Hey, Sarah. All right, so we'll keep going. We have a row of circles. And if you don't exactly follow your pencil, which I have not, I don't sweat it. I just keep on going. Oh, some of you will remember me working for Warren. And I saw his son today. And I asked him how he was doing. And Warren is an elderly gentleman. He will be turning 99 in June. And I talked to his son and I asked him how he was doing, and he said doing pretty well. That he had been to see him. He's at a assisted living, I think, still. And that he had lunch with him the other day, and he said he doesn't interact much now. He's very quiet, which is not Warren at all. So, but he's doing pretty well still. So, yeah, it's pretty amazing. Okay, so do you see the 1/4 of what I've got going on here? So I would finish the entire rest of that. And like I said, I'm working with the extra fine. This is the 1mm black. I think the link that I have in the below the video, the video window is a 2mm, but you can search for 1mm if you'd like. Okay, so I'm going to hit this with a heat gun just to make sure that this section is dry. True, Ruth. It might be pretty to use a masking pen and color a row or two of the Flair pen. Absolutely. Thanks, Jean. Okay, so I think that's probably dry. Then before I start coloring it, I do go back with the eraser. Yes, this is an eraser. And I take out all of my pencil lines, so I get rid of all those. So we'll again just work on this kind of this 1/4 that we got going on here. You end up with a lot of eraser grit, eraser boogers. And you will know immediately if your paint pen or whatever marker you've chosen to use is not dry, because it will smear, and if it smears, you will not be happy with that. So it is important. I mean, normally I don't even do it with the heat gun. Normally what I do is I let it sit and I go away. Now on this part out here, I'll tell you what I'm going to, and then I just brush it all off. Okay, so I just brush it off. I want to do something else out here. On this outer section, come on, thank you. This is going to be much easier to cut out. If I have a relatively smooth line out here, rather than all those little peaky things that I drew, it's going to be a lot easier if it's just a smooth circle. So I'm going to hit that with the heat gun again to make sure that that's dry. That's true, Emma. Absolutely. For 99. Okay, we'll see if I got it dry. If I didn't, we'll know. Soon enough, we'll know. Now, I'm not erasing this super hard. The white eraser I find does the best job getting rid of the pencil marks. I don't erase with a lot of pressure. You can buy these white erasers in blocks. Easy. You can buy them like this in the stick. But I find that this gets rid of the graphite the easiest using the white eraser. Okay. And then I just brush all the eraser grit off, and then I can see, you know, that I've got it. And then all this trash that's on my table, if you'll use one of those lint rollers and just clean it up with the lint roller, it just sucks up all that little eraser grit and works like a charm. Okay, so any questions so far? Another little tea break, and then we'll start coloring, and then we'll move on from that. Okay. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to color it. Now you can color this in a variety of ways, obviously, any way that you want to. My coloring of choice is the Pitt Artist Pens. And I like the big ones. They come in small also. I like the brush tips. And I'm just going to pull out some colors. I don't know what colors we're going to use. I'm just going to pull out some. And we'll just see what happens. So I pretty much just do it whatever strikes my fancy. So let's start in the middle. We need to have red too. And of course orange. Orange. Okay. So I have an assortment of the Pitt Artist Pens. These are India ink, and they're dry when they're permanent. I mean, when they're permanent when they're dry. All right, let's start out with yellow. These are brush markers, as I said, so I'm just going to start. And this is where it becomes color book painting or coloring. You just simply color. Because these brush markers are big fat brush tips. They're so easy to color in. So I'll do the midsection of this all the way, and then we'll just do, switch when we get out here. We'll switch. And get rid of all this eraser stuff out here, or pencil. And you really want to get rid of all that, the graphite lines. If you don't, they show up in your inking. So, and that's not the worst, that's not the end of the world, because you can come back and cover those up when you do the final stage. So, just color. But I find that this adds a lot of color very quickly, and I like that. Okay, let's go to this one. Oh, sorry. Yeah, different words and mean different things around the world, don't they? For sure. So if I ever say anything that offends anyone, it's not ever that was my intention. And as I said, this happens to be just 110-pound cardstock that I'm working on. You could do a variety of materials. You could actually, in the black and white stage, you could scan it, and then you could run it through your printer, and you can print it out on more cardstock, or you could print it out on a watercolor paper if your printer will allow that, like a 90-pound watercolor paper. If your printer allows that, that works really well. Then you don't have to draw them again if you don't want to. And I do find coloring my own mandalas a number of times, again, comforting. Oops. Hello, come on. Sorry, that was my computer. That little blip there, my computer went, it was tired of working, so it took a nap. But I told it, no, you don't. You have to work. All right. So let's do blue. I love these colors from the Pitt artist pens. They're bright, they're beautiful, they go on so smoothly, they're easy, they're expensive. That's the part I don't like, but to me they're worth the cost. They're worth the investment because of how beautifully they go on. They lay the color down, and they lay the color down quickly. So for a lot of things, I really like that. Now, could you color this with colored pencils or other things? Absolutely. Could you use Tombow markers or other watercolor markers? Sure, why not? Distress markers, as long as you can get into the little spaces, use it. Why not? But I tend to pick out a section of colors, an assortment of colors, and then I tend to kind of stick with those colors throughout the mandala. Sometimes I give myself parameters and I say I'm not using anything but red and purple, or red, purple, and pink, or sometimes I'm doing nothing but greens, and that is a challenge, but it's kind of a fun challenge. Okay, so at this point I'm going to stop with this and just do a few of the petals coming out, just to see, in this section. And I'm not pushing hard with the tip of the pen. So the pen tip, the brush point, is not bending over. I'm just letting the marker do the work. And if you want to, you know, divide these sections, like you could divide this in half. If you want to do that, you know, this is the point at which you would do that so that you could divide the colors up the way you want. You know, I just add those color or those divisions using the paint marker, the paint pen. In this case, we're just going to add big, bold blocks of color. Gabriella's going to cheat and draw it on the computer. Good, that's great. Excellent. Okay, let me go to a different yellow, the big brush pen. When you get out here in these bigger sections, it's real helpful to use the bigger pens. The little sections in here, you can do that, or little tiny areas, you can use the smaller brush tip pens easily. Yes, if you are good with drawing on the computer, you can lay them out. Certainly lay them out on the computer. Or you can lay out a section of it by hand, you know, draw a section of it by hand, scan that in, and then you can duplicate that around the circle if you want. You could do that. Just depends on how exact you want to be. Okay, so we're going to call that good for that little section. We'll put a little bit more just so I know that that's going on there. And let's see, let's go to, let's go to orange. And this truly is one of those things that I just do whatever I feel like doing. And you don't have to use the same color going all around, you know, one round of pattern. You can use whatever colors you want. It's your mandala. It's your design. Okay. And this one, because I've got it in two sections, I'm going to divide it into two sections. And I like the contrast of the turquoise against the orange. And we are going to talk about using these in your art journal. That's the other part of this. But the first thing you got to have is you got to have the mandalas colored. But people often ask me, what are you going to do with them, right? Like, now I have to tell you, and I've said this many times, I don't have a compulsion to do anything with anything that I create. Like, I don't feel the need to do some particular thing with it. Like, for me, the act of being creative, playing, exploration, just the enjoyment, the act of creating is enough for me. I don't have to do something with it. That doesn't mean I don't do things with it, but I don't have to do anything with it, you know? You know what I mean? Okay, so let's do another little bit here. Let's go back to red. And as I get into these bigger sections, I tend to outline them and then fill them in. I just find that's a little safer sometimes. Hey, Sue. Hi, Eileen. CB's leaving. Did I miss her? Probably did. Bye, CB. Okay, so you get the idea here. And then we'll do, I don't know, just because I'm being a rebel, I'm going to throw in a completely different color. So if there are any of these specific colors you want to know numbers or names or whatever of, let me know and I will tell you. Now, if I'm doing this myself, you know, without broadcasting, I would be doing this much more methodically and slowly. Now, some people who know me would say that that is my definite nature. I think they think I'm slow. However, I'm not entirely sure that I agree with them on that observation. Okay, so we have green. Let's go to, for these circles out here, I'm going to do them in pink. You can see as you get to the outer rings of pattern, it takes you longer, obviously, to get around. That's why I stopped doing that, the inking and all that, just so you can see, you get the idea, without having to watch me forever to do it. Okay, and then I'm going to go to this yellow and fill in between the two. Just for grins and giggles. Okay, and I'm going to come out here. I'm going to bring this yellow out on the other side of the pink. Because there are some places that the circles don't touch each other, so it would make sense that the yellow would go all the way out. But the mandalas, when I first started doing them, just really filled a gap for me, and it was a way to be creative, and I loved doing it. Loved it. Okay, and then out here on this outer little bit, I'm just going to use purple. So that way you'll get a section of it so you can see all the colors. The colors are very bright. Now, if you do this on something like I did on the cardstock, which has the, I had collage down there, and I did a coat of gesso, but the collage was, you know, kind of shades of beige, and I'll show those again here in just a minute. And you go over it with a coat of white gesso, but it's not a thick coat because I still wanted to see all the pattern stuff and dictionary paper and tissue, like sewing pattern tissue and stuff like that. I wanted to be able to see all that. Guess I could have finished that little bit up. Let's do that. Let me finish this little bit. The colors will not be quite as bright, and I use the same pens. I use the big brush pens and the smaller brush pens, the Faber-Castell, and the colors are not as bright on that because I'm not starting on a white background. So if you want your colors to be at their most brilliant, let's say, you need to come off of a white background. Just so you got the idea. Slow and steady. Not slow, I'm thorough. Well, depends on who you're talking to. Looks like my yellow marker is molding. That is not good. This one, this light green, I had one of those go moldy on me. They replaced it. And this one would appear to be doing the same thing. The Faber-Castell company is very good about standing behind their products, so I may have to, I don't like moldy things, I have to say. So I may have to take a picture of it, contact them about that, and say, yeah, guess what? Okay, so there you go. You've got a quarter of it filled in. Okay? Any questions? Or have I lost you all? Did I put you all to sleep being so slow and steady? All right. Maybe, maybe not. Chat's not moving. Okay. So what happens after this is then you pick up whatever colors of, or whatever kinds of things you want to add embellishment to, and then you just start embellishing it. And this is very similar, in my approach, it's very similar to the way that I drew it to begin with. I make a mark and then I repeat the mark. So again, I go back to the center and I work my way out. So there's several things you can use to, it's the wind chimes. Everyone is, it's putting them to sleep. Probably is. So there's several things that you can use to do your marks. And so here's my assortment of frosting tools. For pens, I use either a Jelly Roll white pen. This is just a plain old Jelly Roll white pen. This is a Signo Uni-Ball white pen. This is a Uni-Ball Vision black pen. And then I have the Molotow markers. And I typically just embellish them with white and black. Okay, so that's what I use to embellish with. So let's just do an assortment of things. I normally, well, I won't say normally, I just pick up whatever it is I think I want to work on. And I keep a piece of scratch paper so that I can mark on it as I'm starting out. The smaller areas, you need to use smaller pens. So I'm going to work with this Uni-Ball Vision black pen. And then I just start making marks. So I pick one of the shapes and I make a mark in it. And I repeat that mark. All around the round of petals and shapes. So let's say I've done that. Well, black's not going to show up so much on the purple, so I'll switch to white. Hey, JZ. Good. JZ is Auntie Michael. I know her as JZ. Ah, okay. Gotcha, Deb. So then I might come in with the white pen and I might add some embellishments. Now the white pen is not going to be as white as the felt tip, and so sometimes I'll put that in and then I'll come back and add some more. Go over it again. Let's say we want to do this. Now when you're working with the Uni-Ball pen, don't go faster than it can go. I mean, it is really, it's a great pen, but it has its limitations. And if you try to go too fast, it will skip and rebel on you. So Okay, so I've added that. Now I'm getting out into the pink area, so maybe what I'll do in the pink is I'll go to a black paint pen. Welcome back, Miss Emma. Okay, so this is the extra fine Molotow marker. And so I'm going to, we'll just start over here. Again, I just make a mark and repeat it. And then sometimes I'll go back in here and I'll go, well, you know, I want more something going on in here, so I'll add. And this, sometimes I'll pick up a mandala that's been done for a long time and I'll just keep adding to it. And I typically switch back and forth between the blacks and the whites. I'll do black for a while and then I'll do white for a while. And maybe we'll do this one. Carol says sometimes she wipes it on her hand to get it going again. The Uni-Ball Signo Pen. That's a great idea. That's great information. Thanks, Carol. Come on, wake up. Billy, wake up. The computer is getting tired today for some reason. And if I think things are looking really dull or, you know, it's not doing what I want it to do, then I come back and I'll put black on top of white or white on top of black. Or I'll do things like this. I'll just do when in doubt, dot. When in doubt, dot. So you can create things that look like lace, patterns, you know, that look lacy. You can get just, I don't know, you can just have fun with it. And that's what it's all about. For me, it's about fun. It's about experimenting. It's about just seeing what will happen if I do this thing, if I make that mark. Do I like that mark? No, not so much. Okay, I won't do that one again. Okay. So let's move the paint pens out of the way and the big brush pens. I'm going to hit this with a little bit of heat. Yeah, really. Time for spring break. Poor computer. Okay, I'm going to add just a little bit more to this before I'll give you the close-up shot here in a minute. And I love these pens that you can just touch. You just touch them and you get color off of them. And I love that. Okay, so let's look at this up close and personal. So you can see what I'm talking about by adding all the frosting to it. That's what I call that bit in the middle. I just call it frosting. Yeah, break. What's that? Exactly. Exactly. So do you see how it's coming, and the embellishment then begins to make it change? So it goes from something that is very plain, and it's pretty. There's nothing wrong with this out here, but it's very plain, and it starts taking on such a new character and life of its own, which I happen to love personally. So I will play with that until I'm happy with it. And it may take me a long time to finish it, you know? Yeah, this is a different camera, definitely. It's definitely a different camera, and the color is different. Next on the docket, we will be having new cameras, so they will all be the same. Anna, I don't know. Maybe somebody in the chat will know. She wants to know how to rejuvenate white jelly pens when they haven't been used for a while. I don't know of any way to regenerate them. Somebody here may know. I regenerate them in the trash. That's what I do with them. Okay, so this one has all of the colors done, and I've just started adding the embellishment in the center. So we'll take a look at this one. So Ruth says try warming them up with a hairdryer. Huh, interesting. So I don't know if you can see in here, but there's just a tiny little bit of the embellishment going on with the white and the black, but not very much. Okay. There's not very much going on there yet. Okay, so let's take a look. Now that you understand more of, kind of what I'm doing here, we'll go back and take a look at the rest of these, and then we're going to switch over to doing what we can do with them in an art journal. So let me get crap out of the way here. All right, so this goes back to this one, just so I can tell you the process again. So now you've seen how it all kind of comes together. This is a 12 by 12 piece of scrapbook paper. See? Ugly scrapbook paper. It's textured even. And so what I did was I collaged it. I'll turn it this way. Which way is the right way? Here, it goes this way. There's my name. And I did this one last year in May. So what I did was I collaged it with thin papers in the background. So it's thin text papers and thin tissue papers and stuff like that. So the whole thing was collaged with thin paper, so it kept it very, very flat. Okay. And then I marked it off exactly the same way I showed you earlier, but this is a 12 by 12, so it took, a longer ruler to be able to mark it off. I gridded it out. I used the same compass. In fact, I can show you right here. Let me zoom in real close. See if I can show you. You see right in here? The graphite is still there. So you can see that on this outer ring that there's still the graphite is still in place. So I didn't even erase all of them out. All right, so let's go back here. Because I was just playing with them just to see what would happen. That's all I was doing here, was playing. And so this was exactly what this was. It's just, this is bigger. Okay, the pattern is bigger. It has more stuff in it. And it's just bigger. And in the places of these petals and things like here, like I have here, I added additional shapes And out here I added additional shapes before I started coloring them in. So this could have actually had a lot more stuff added to it. Yeah. Ruth says since she's been watching, she'd like to just do her own paper rather than buy it. I agree. I mean, that's what I do, but that's just me. Okay, so there's that one. Now, when this was all finished, I don't know if you can tell, it's kind of shiny. Yeah, you can see it. This has a couple of coats of spray varnish over it to protect everything. And of course, once you do that, any graphite lines that are left, those are buried inside. Those graphite lines are buried within the varnish. Okay? There's no gloss medium. What's on top of it is just a spray varnish. Yeah. But you could varnish it with a brush on or whatever you wanted to do. You just have to be careful. You have to know what pens you've put down on here so that, for example, I would have to do a test on this pen before I varnished over it because I don't know whether the varnish will move it. And sometimes varnish will move pens. So if you were going to varnish it with a brush varnish, then what you need to do is you need to spray it first, several coats with something like a matte finish, the Krylon matte finish first, and make sure that was really dry. So that puts a barrier between your art and the varnish, and then you could go over with a brush coat of varnish. So that's what I would do on that. Okay, so here's another one. Same process exactly, but you can see the colors are, see how this out here is browner than this one. I don't know if you can tell the difference, but this is whiter. I had more of a white varnish, or more of the gesso on this one than on this one. So the browner that your background is, the less that the colors are going to be, you know, that real brilliant color palette. Okay, so this is toned down. Also, by using this background of text paper and tissue paper and all that kind of stuff, that comes through in the background because these pens are not opaque. These pens are not opaque. Okay. All right, so there's that one. And here's another one. This one is in process. This one is not finished. The only part of this that's finished is right here in the middle. You can see that on the outside rings from the pink petals out, nothing has been done. So I don't have any of that embellishment. Just like this, it's just like that out here. Okay? All right. So that is that. So let's talk about, let me show you the mandala book first. And then we'll talk about how to use them and use these mandalas in the art journal. So this is my book, Mandala Melange, that I have printed out. Looking for space here. I got too much stuff. So this is Mandala Melange that I've printed out and put in a binder. This is what the front cover looks like. You'll find the link for it in the information below the video. And what's in here is there's some information in the book. There's some information here. This is one of the mandalas that you just saw. And there are images of ones that I've colored just to give you some ideas. So this book came out last year sometime. I brought it out. So there's different mandalas, different colorings. And then here are all the names of all the mandalas. There's 25 mandalas in the book. And I put the names here. I did not put page numbers. There's a little information about them. I did not put page numbers or titles on the mandalas in case people wanted to, you know, use them, you know, in whatever way they chose to use them. If they wanted to do them and frame them or whatever. So these are actually the printouts on cardstock. And so here are all the different designs. So these are all designs, all mandalas that I drew. These are hand-drawn. They're not done in Illustrator or anything. I don't say that to denigrate using a computer by any means. I'm just telling you that that's what I did. Okay, so what you can do if you are interested in doing this is you can go to the link. The book is, I think, $9.97. You can go to the link and you can buy it. It's a download. And if you don't want to print out or you don't want to draw your own, you just want to color and embellish, you can do that. So I'm just leafing through to show you all the different designs. So I've shown you how to do it. If you don't want to do it yourself, you can come in and you can do them, color them, embellish them any way you wish. So I'm just leafing through so you can see. This is the one I showed you earlier. We're going to go back to that in a minute. Okay, and then some ideas about what you can do with them and how you can get a hold of me. Okay, so that is Mandala Melange. You find the link in the description box below the video. Okay, so let's talk about, we have, oh, and let me show you this too before we go any further. You can, if you are good with the computer program, this in Photoshop, I took the different images and I put them in one document. Each of these is one document, and then printed them out. So I had smaller versions of them and then printed them out. This was going to be my calendar, right? This was going to be my calendar that never got done. But I'm still having fun coloring them in. So I just took the various mandalas from that book and then printed them out, and then I'm just playing with different ways to use different kinds of coloring medium. Like this, for example, is Prang watercolors. Okay, so this is done with Prang watercolors. There's actually a video on this. That was the very first live YouTube that I did when I was coloring some of these. And so this is Prang watercolors, which are kids watercolors. This one is done with gelatos, and again, they're the images from the book that I put together and then printed out. So this is gelatos. And this one is colored, I colored it with Inktense pencils first, and then I activated that with water. So the colors are not showing up as bright as they really are in real life. So you can do different things with them if you have the ability to print them out in different ways. So for example, here are some of them that these have to be trimmed up a little bit, because I'll trim them up so that they're even, but you can see the different ways of combining them and just doing, different things with them. So you can resize them, print them out. These are all printed on watercolor paper. Okay, so let's go back now. And first of all, talk about ways to art journal with them. So this one is done on a great big piece of watercolor paper to start with. This one. Sorry, I had to get a drink. So this is done on watercolor paper, one great big sheet of watercolor paper that I did acrylic washes, just different bits of acrylic paints that were left over, and I just washed colors all over the page. It was a great big sheet. So I did both sides. And so this was the inside of the page, and I did great big sheet, 22 by 30 I think it is, and with just random colors of acrylic paint. Let it completely dry, and then I tore it into pages. So let me get to the middle. Here's, you can see where it's not had anything done to it. You can see what it looks like. Okay, so let me see how many pages there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 pages. I stitched it together just with a pamphlet stitch, which there is a video on my YouTube channel about doing the pamphlet stitch if you don't know how to do that. So I stitched it together, and then I started drawing mandalas on each page. So I don't have them all done. The pages are not all filled up, but I did exactly the same thing that I've just showed you. I gridded it off, and then I started drawing the shapes, And once I was finished with the pencil, then I went back and outlined them with a pen, but this time I outlined with a thin pen. Could have been, it might have been a micron pen, could have been a Pitt fine pen, I don't know. I don't remember, honestly. And then I went back, and I think on most of these I either used watercolor pencils or I used Inktense pencils, and I did some coloring and then activated them with water. So I'll just do a flip through of these. So in this case, I've used them as the mandala itself is drawn right on the paper, and whatever colors in the background influence the colors of the mandalas. Okay? I hope that makes sense. So you see a lot of shading and different things where you go, how in the world could that happen? Like, for example, here, you know, you see all these different colors. It's exactly the same color here as over here, but the color is influenced by whatever the wash was underneath. Okay, so sometimes like this had a really hot color, you know, pinks and oranges and stuff that were in the background of this on the paper. You can see it back here. So I worked with that with the mandalas, just using those hot, warm colors. And so they're drawn right on the pages. Okay. Let's see. Here's the next one. So this is an art journal that is just mandalas. And some of them I've come in and I've put borders around. This one I liked without the border, so it has no border on it. So it just totally depends on what I'm in the mood to do. This one I barely started. It does not have, these two have hardly had anything done to them. So this one has a lot of room to go yet. This one I think is colored with colored pencil, or could be crayon. I don't remember. Anyway, it's not the Pitt artist pens. Please show this book on the camera with good fidelity. I'm not sure what you mean, Rebecca. More information. And this one again has not, this just has color. It doesn't have any of the trim stuff done on it. Same thing here. So a lot of these are just, you know, just begun. Okay, so there's that. And I didn't do a lot of the trim work on these, like a lot of the white and black and so forth. There's just not a lot of that. It's very fine, mostly pens and pencils. So an art journal, you can do an art journal just with the, you know, let the journal be the whole purpose of the journal is to be the mandalas, the one that shows colors better. Okay. Okay, we'll do a quick flip through on this. Okay, so there's that one. There's that one. And this one. Hey, Sherry. And there's that one. So when you come back, when the recording is up live, or when the recording is up, where you can go back and see the recording, then you can come in, and the recording will not be available until probably Sunday anyway. But you can come back and you can pause the video if you want to see any of these in greater detail. You can possibly see some texture in the background. That's from the watercolor paper. This was a cold pressed watercolor paper. This has a lot of texture on one side. It's smoother on the other side. So some of the mandalas are smoother and easier to do than, like this is the cold pressed, the textury side. And so this is a much greater challenge to do the, create the mandala on. Okay, and then I think that's it. I haven't got the rest of them done. Yeah. Okay, so that's that. Okay. So your mandala, your art journal can be just the mandalas like that. In this case, the mandala is the cover of the journal. Okay? So this is the cover of the mandala. So it was done exactly the way that these were done on a piece of watercolor or cardstock or big watercolor paper. I don't remember really. And this has none of the trim stuff, none of the black and white trim stuff on it. But I just did it, colored it, cut it out, and I think I mounted it onto another piece of cardstock or something. So it made it a little thicker. Yeah, I mounted it on a piece of mixed media paper. Cut it in half. Oh, you're welcome, Rebecca. Thanks for asking and clarifying. So this is watercolor paper in here that I cut with a circle cutter, cut the pages out, and turned. There is a video on this where I kind of was stumbling my way through doing the Coptic stitch, which wasn't the point of that video. The point of that video was to show you different ways you could use mandalas. But anyway, you can see that. So the pages are circles. And so in this case, the mandala functions as the cover, and the inside will be whatever it is I want to do with it. You know, I'll turn it into, I'll make the inside of it. It could be a watercolor journal because it is watercolor paper. I could use it as a sketchbook. I might write in it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Haven't decided. So far, I like it just like that. And I put a belly band around it, and that's what holds it closed. So that's that. Okay, so now let's talk about what else can you do with all these other ones that you got going on, right? This, for example, is a black, this is the black square journal, Diane Reevely's black square journal. And I have a number of the mandalas, and what I'm thinking I'm going to do, in fact, we'll just do one. We'll see which one I want to put first. Maybe this one. So these are the patterns from the book. Okay, these two are patterns from the book. This one, I don't remember if it's a pattern from the book. I can't remember. How sad is that? These are ones from the book that I just mounted on a piece of black paper. Okay, but let's say that I want to put this in my art journal. I cut it out. Okay, I colored it, cut it out, and then rather than making this black journal, you know, I may change my mind as I get going, but to start with, I just feel like putting mandalas in it, so that's what I'm going to do. Because I love mandalas, okay? So I'm just going to use a piece of scratch paper, and I'm going to use the driest glue that I have access to, and that would be a glue stick. This is an Xtreme, Elmer's Xtreme glue stick. There are a lot of different things that you can use, but I'm going to use the glue stick because it's dry. It's a dry glue, basically. And I stand the least amount of chance of slopping it over onto the front of the mandala. But you got to hold it in place, and you really need a piece of scratch paper under this so that you can go off the edges. And once you've got it going, and you think you've got it coated, then before you do anything else, take this scratch paper and get rid of it, because you don't want to get that gluey paper going on anywhere. Okay, then you want to look at how you want to place your mandala. Okay, and you can do it, do it whatever way you want to do it. Do we want it going like that? And this is where I can fiddle too long. All right, we're just going to say that's good. Stop messing with it. And then use something to burnish it down. Now, if you don't have the glue all the way out to the tips, which I can see some that I did not get all the way out, didn't get enough glue, then what you got to do, that's why you have to work quickly, because if you don't work quickly, the glue starts drying on you, because as I said, it is a drier glue. So I'll just use my glue stick and I will carefully lift up the little petals. And add some glue and press them down. And so in this case, you've done the mandalas separately, but now adding them into your art journal. So now you have a way to keep your mandalas. And you have a book that you can look at, but you don't run the risks, shall we say, of creating in the book like I did this one. If I mess up this when I'm doing this, if I mess it up, then what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to, make an opportunity out of a screw up. Which is not the end of the world. Okay, so hopefully you can see. And you just keep working around, if you don't have them all glued in, then go back and just add your glue until it's all in place. Okay, so there's that one. Now, if you get careless and you get some glue out on this black paper out here, which I don't know that you can see it right here. I got a little glue there. Then you can come back and go back with your white paint pens or whatever, your Jelly Roll pen or whatever, and actually add some more embellishment on the black page around your mandala. So there's nothing that says it's finished just because you glued it into a journal. You can come back and add more stuff to it. All right, so you can see how you can take any of these mandalas. All right, this one's just barely going to fit, but it will. And you can just glue them in. And let's say we want to put this one on this side. So you can see how you can then give yourself, an art journal to house what you've done with your mandalas. You can just house them here. Here's another one. This one is the one that's not completely done, but it could live here. I might have to cut these little whoop-de-doos off or let them stick off the page because they're a little big for that page. But you got the idea, right? Got the idea? Bye, Wendy. So that is another thing that you can do. So you've got a couple of different ways that you can art journal with them. You can also, I've given you several ideas here. Another thing you can do is take the same bits, the same patterns. This is the pattern from the book, printed on shrink film and turned into a charm. So this is the same pattern. All of these are the same patterns. And these can be used then on the outside of the journal. You can use these on the outside of the journal to create, you know, your embellishment for the front cover. Or when you're all finished with the journal, you can let them be part of the dangle, you know, stuff on the outside. So these are all ones that are done using shrink film. I have another one, these other ones hiding in here, but you can see how they pop when they're on the black. So that's yet another thing you can do with it. And you can embellish your art journals using the, you know, it's just a matter of thinking different ways. You know, how else can I use this? What else can I do with this? So this was actually a class on how to get creative in the members area. So, yeah. Okay, question. Jerry wants to know how long I've been doing mixed media. That's a good question. I don't know. I guess I've been mixing medias. I've probably been mixing medias most of my life, most of my creative life. I don't know. Actively doing what I would call, you know, mixed media, you know, from a conscious point of view, I've probably been doing it for the last 6 or 7 years, probably. Sherry says a quote would be nice. Yeah, that would be great. And that is something I often do, is I most always use words with my journal pages. Almost always. Almost, I would have to say it's a rare journal page that doesn't have writing or words or something. The class is on HowToGetCreative.com. It's in the members area, and I don't remember what the name of it was, but it was done with shrink film. Yeah. So you can go over to HowToGetCreative.com and you can look you can see on the blog, click on the blog tab, or it probably shows up on the front page when you go to HowToGetCreative.com. If you scroll down through that, you'll see, you'll run onto that class. There'll be a preview for the class and the blog post about it. Yeah. Okay. I'm just looking to see if I missed anything. I don't think so. Okay, let's let the sponsors out. I don't know if they deserve to come out, to tell you the truth, since Charlie did what he did to my Twitter account today. I mean, really, do you think we should let him out? I mean, really, do you think we should do you think he deserves to come out? Rotten cat. Rotten, I tell you. Just trying to make sponsor room here. How did you produce the shrink plastic mandalas? Normally you have to color the plastic. Yes, I did. I colored the plastic. Okay, let's get the sponsors. They're at the door. They are at the door, waiting. Whew. They were ready. They were ready, boy. You've been in there long enough, haven't you? Are you coming up? Come here. Oh, come here. He says, I've been up there, been in that room long enough. I'm tired of that. Just tired of it. Just tired of it. Aren't you? Are you coming up too? This is Charlie. This is the scoundrel. Got crud in his eyes. This is the scoundrel that got my Twitter account. Hacked into my Twitter account, he did. You're welcome, Eileen. He did. He hacked into my Twitter account. All right. Chance doesn't want to be outdone. I'm trying to get the electronic bits out of the way so that they don't, like, lay on them or something. Too many things on this table. Okay, come here. Whew. Mercy. There we go. All right. 1, 2. Hopefully you guys can see him okay. I'm trying to keep the monitors out of the shot. Charlie is real close. He is really close to the camera, so you can't even see the color on him. Ah, yeah. Oh, you're welcome, Ruth. All right, Charlie, or Chance, sit down here. Yes, if we don't watch out, they show their nether regions to the entire world, and that is not good. That is never a good thing. That is never good. Okay, so now I think we're done. I'm glad you guys were here. Thank you so much for joining me for Drama Free Friday once again, and learning maybe some new ways to use mandalas in your art journals. Oh, nope, don't do that. He was gonna escape. He's gonna escape. All right, this is called cat wrangling. This is truly called cat wrangling. They are naughty. They are naughty. With the membership, you don't get to download the videos, but there are extensive notes with every single class. Extensive PDFs. So the PDFs are exhaustive. Yeah. Thanks, Jerry. Okay, I will see you guys later. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And get my ducks in a row here. I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you next week. Thanks for joining me, everybody, and I will see you next time. See you next week for Drama Free Friday with the sponsors. We'll see you then. Bye.